All first half, Mel had been complaining about the sun being in her eyes, but we'd switched sides at halftime, so now it was God's fault. "Bopped him!" she shouted. From the looks of it, there was a girl on the other team who was also French-Canadian. You could tell by the smirk on her face. The referee just looked puzzled, unsure of whether or not she should throw a yellow card for sportsmanship, though honestly, she wasn't sure what she was hearing. Why had we thought this year would be any different? Wasn't that the very definition of insanity? Standing around with our sticks in the air, not marking our man, playing everything but the angles, yet expecting things to be better, the ball effortlessly sailing into the opponent's net. Usually when people talk about tradition, they mean the good things people pass down to whoever's around to take up the mantle. Usually, tradition doesn't refer to stuff like whole seasons without a single win, or untold handfuls of broken fingers, split lips, or the time the bus got a flat on the way home from an away game double-digit drubbing, and we sat by the side of Route 1 for the better part of an hour, inhaling the world's exhaust. It was Monday afternoon, our first full day at Camp Wildcat on the University of New Hampshire campus. This atrocity, our first scrimmage of the week. There would be other scrimmages every afternoon, other chances to have our asses served to us on a silver platter with a sprig of garni. Had we each really paid $375 to live in the dorms and spend our mornings doing burpees, our afternoons being publicly gutted? We were down 6-0, 32 minutes into play. By the time we finally scored at the 55-minute mark, Masco was playing their third string. Only Abby Putnam let out a half-hearted cheer as her shot hit the back of their net. You had to hand it to her. She had team spirit. Be aggressive. B-E, aggressive. You couldn't be a Putnam and live in Danvers and not be a believer, even when every other rational marker said don't. Apparently, the Putnams were just born like that. They had a way of latching on to a story and not letting go no matter what, like a terrier with a rabbit. Abby was still in high spirits from last year's season when we went 2-8, our best record in more than a decade. "We could go all the way to states this year," she told Sue Yoon on the drive up to Camp Wildcat. Abby was sitting in the passenger seat, peeling her third banana of the day. About the only thing in life Abby Putnam feared was low potassium. "We're seniors," she added. "It's our time." Sue Yoon flicked her parliament out the window. Her hair was dyed Purplesaurus Rex, the artificial flavors in Kool-Aid coloring her locks a subtle shade of lilac. "Who do you think we are?" she said, the smoke vortexing out her nose. "The Bad News Bears?" It was a good question. The Bad News Bears had come out in theaters more than a decade before, but it was the only sports movie we could name featuring a group of ragtag misfit kids. None of the other passengers in Sue's pink Volkswagen Rabbit, dubbed the Panic Mobile, said anything. Maybe if one of us had given it a little more thought, things wouldn't have gone down the way they did. Ancient urges which should have been snuffed out long ago wouldn't have been unleashed. But sometimes objects in a mirror are closer than they appear. When you don't speak up, you get what you get. That afternoon at Camp Wildcat, as Masconomet was annihilating us brick by brick, we were 8 months past having gone 2-8, and only Abby Putnam still openly admitted to wanting to be team captain come fall. At the end of halftime, just before retaking the field against Masco, we huddled up and hit the ground 3 times with our sticks. "Field! Field! Field!" Abby yelled. Only a couple of us responded, the optimists and the overly polite. Folks like Amy Little Smitty Smith and Julie Kaling and maybe A.J. Johnson and Boy Corey. "Hockey, hockey, hockey," they intoned, more out of kindness rather than any innate hunger to win. The rest of us just kept our mouths shut. 30 minutes later, we were out of our misery.